MrBeast ends every single month with $0 in his bank account.
I mean, at the end of the day, I could spend less per videos if I want to. I'm just focused on making the best videos possible, period. I don't care about making money. I don't care about time. I don't care about anything. I just want to make the best videos on the planet. But at any point, if I was like, oh, I need to stop losing money, I don't spend $1 million on the next video. Just spend $100,000. You know what I mean?
It's 1867. A bearded philosopher named Karl Marx sits hunched in the dim, dusty halls of the British Museum, scribbling away at what would become Das Kapital. The room is quiet, but his thoughts are loud. He's imagining a chilling future where every human interaction gets stripped down to a cold, calculated exchange. A world where even kindness isn't real anymore, just another product on a shelf, bought and sold for profit. What he didn't see coming is wild. Over 150 years later, his warnings line up almost perfectly with the rise of Jimmy Donaldson. MrBeast, people online call him the greatest philanthropist ever, a modern-day hero who builds wells and pays for surgeries, but that image feels a little too polished, a little too perfect, because MrBeast isn't fixing capitalism's problems. He's taking them to a whole new level. This isn't just generosity, it's a system where human struggle gets turned into content, where desperation becomes part of the game. Charity stops being about pure compassion and starts looking like a high-performing digital asset, optimized for clicks, views, and massive returns. Marx warned that in late-stage capitalism, everything gets a price tag, even empathy itself. MrBeast didn't just discover that truth, he turned it into a billion-dollar machine. And here's where it gets deeper. Marx talked about something called commodity fetishism, a concept that explains why all of this feels so addictive, yet strangely empty at the same time. In Das Kapital, he wrote, "A commodity appears at first sight, an extremely obvious, trivial thing, but its analysis shows that it is a very queer thing, abounding in metaphysical subtleties and theological niceties." That sounds complex, but the idea hits hard when you really think about it. So when you watch a MrBeast video, what are you actually seeing? On the surface, it's simple. You see a suitcase packed with $100,000. Flashy, exciting, impossible to ignore. But underneath that image, there's a whole system at work, turning money, emotion, and human stories into something way bigger and way more unsettling than it first appears. You see a brand new Lamborghini. You see a house handed over to a homeless family. To most people watching, it looks simple, just good deeds playing out on screen. But through Marx's lens, this hits very different. These are commodities pushed to their most extreme, almost hypnotic form. Inside a MrBeast video, money isn't just money anymore. It's a prop, a spotlight, a carefully placed visual trigger designed to hit you fast and hard. It's built to spark a reaction deep in your brain, not just appreciation, but excitement, shock, even awe. Marx explained commodity fetishism as the moment when real human relationships get hidden behind objects and transactions. Think about it. When Jimmy hands a random person $50,000 for staying inside a circle, what are you really seeing? It's not connection. It's a moment where someone's entire value gets boiled down to the cash they're holding. And the deeper reality? It disappears. You don't see the systems that made that $50,000 life-changing in the first place. You don't see the pressure, the struggle, the circumstances behind it. All you see is the money, glowing like it fixes everything instantly. It starts to feel almost powerful, almost untouchable. The money becomes larger than life, like it can solve anything on command, while the harder truth stays hidden in the background. The labor, the stress, the real reasons that money matters so much, they fade out of the picture completely. So this isn't just giving anymore, it's transformation. Human struggle gets flipped into content that performs, content that scales, content that pays. Marx warned that in capitalism, even the most sacred things lose their meaning. And here, charity itself gets reshaped into something engineered for clicks and algorithm. Boosts. This is the final twist. Kindness isn't just an action anymore. It's a product you can watch, follow, and subscribe to. And that leads straight into Marx's darker idea, alienation. In his 1844 manuscripts, he wrote, "The worker becomes all the poorer." The more wealth he produces, the more his production increases in power and range. The worker becomes an ever cheaper commodity. The more commodities he creates. That line hits different when you look at it today. Now picture a MrBeast challenge. One person locked in a plain white room for 100 days, another buried underground for 50 hours. Someone else left out in the wilderness trying to last a full week. On the surface, it looks like a game, something intense but entertaining. But through a Marxist lens, this is straight up alienation playing out in real time. The participant becomes the worker. And what are they producing? Their own discomfort, their own stress, their own breaking point. They're cut off from family, normal life, and basic comfort, all to create a spectacle for millions watching across the world. Marx argued that under capitalism, people get pulled away from their true human nature. And here, you can see it clearly. Put someone in isolation or extreme conditions, all for a shot at paying off debt or securing stability, and suddenly their humanity gets pushed to the side. It turns into a test. How far can someone go? How much can they endure before they crack? And here's the part that really stands out. Most of these people aren't there just for fun. There's real pressure behind the decision. In one video, a man stays inside a circle for months trying to win money for his family. You can literally watch the toll it takes, his mental state slipping, his emotions getting heavier, the stress building up. Marx described this perfectly when he said the worker's labor becomes an object, an external existence, something alien to him. That idea lands hard here. Because the contestant's struggle stops belonging to them, it becomes part of the content, part of the brand, something packaged and delivered to an audience. Their pain turns into raw material, like something extracted and refined into entertainment. The longer they last, the more intense it gets, the more attention it pulls in. And that attention, it converts directly into value. So the system feeds on endurance. The more someone pushes through, the more the machine rewards it. They become a moving part in something bigger, something that depends on that level of detachment to keep running. They're trading time, energy, and real-life moments just to secure basic needs, turning existence itself into a high-stakes exchange. And to really understand both the brilliance and the dark edge of this model, you have to see how human life starts getting measured like numbers on a balance sheet. Marx famously broke things down into use value and exchange value and value, price, and profit. He explained that when you strip it all back, commodities are just fixed amounts of stored labor time. That idea sounds abstract until you see how it plays out right now. Take the video where MrBeast pays for 1,000 people to get cataract surgery. The use value is huge. Life-changing, no question. 1,000 people can finally see again, and that's real impact. But inside the logic of the channel, that's not the full story. Not even close. What really drives everything is the exchange value. The surgeries become part of a calculated investment. The planning, the filming, the editing, all that labor stacks up with one goal in mind: creating a video that pulls massive attention. The real target? A thumbnail and title strong enough to bring in 150 million views. Because here's the harsh reality. If helping 1,000 people only brought in a small number of views, the whole system wouldn't hold up. The generosity has to perform. It has to scale. It has to hit numbers, or it doesn't survive in this model, and that's where things start to spiral. Marx warned that capital always has to grow, always has to expand. So if one video cures blindness or builds homes, the next one has to go even bigger, even louder, even more extreme just to keep pace. This creates a loop that feeds itself, a cycle where acts of charity are directly tied to performance metrics. The views from one video help fund the next, turning generosity into a self-running engine powered by attention. And here's the twist. You're part of it. The viewer becomes the consumer in this system. Your clicks, your watch time, your engagement, that's the fuel. That's what gives the content its value and keeps the machine moving. It shifts the role of the audience completely. Instead of pushing people to act, it trains them to watch, to scroll, to stay hooked, almost like a digital arena where the spectacle never stops. Marx believed markets eventually reduce everything to numbers. And in this world, that idea feels real. Mercy isn't measured by meaning anymore. It's measured by scale, by reach, by cost per click, and total views. This is where it gets cold. It's like breaking down the human heart into numbers on a spreadsheet. Capital accumulation, that was Marx's big warning. He summed it up with one command: accumulate, accumulate. That is Moses and the prophets. He wasn't joking. To him, capital isn't just money sitting still, it's a living process. It has to move, it has to grow, and the second it stops, it collapses. Jimmy Donaldson has said in interviews that he keeps basically $0 in his bank account because everything gets reinvested back into videos. A lot of people hear that and think it proves he's selfless. But from a Marxist angle, it looks completely different. It's one of the most intense forms of accumulation you can imagine. At that point, it's not even about the individual anymore. It's about the system he represents. By cycling every dollar straight back into production, he's pushing growth faster and harder than traditional charities could ever keep up with. The scale just keeps expanding. Marx explained this through the MCM cycle. Money turns into commodities, which then generate more money. But here, that formula gets a modern twist. It becomes MSM, money into spectacle, spectacle into even more money. And it works at a massive level. Because everything gets reinvested, the operation keeps leveling up. Bigger videos, bigger reach, bigger attention grabs. Over time, that builds something powerful, a wall so high that almost nobody else can compete at the same scale. And this is the part most people miss. Even if individual videos look like they're breaking even, they're feeding something much bigger. The real asset is the brand itself, a high-powered digital engine that can launch products, businesses, and huge merchandising waves. So the giveaways aren't just random acts. They double as marketing. They pull attention in, build trust, and expand influence across everything connected to the name. Marx warned that as capital grows, it concentrates into fewer hands. And you can see that pattern showing up here. One figure ends up shaping how millions of people see charity online. It starts to blur the lines. When one creator is funding projects like water access, housing help, or medical care, it raises a bigger question about systems and responsibility. That's the shift Marx was pointing at. A world where influence, resources, and decision-making stack higher and higher in one place, driven by a machine that never stops growing. Exactly. This is the kind of prince of industry Marx warned about. Someone who rises up and starts to replace the role traditional society used to play. And to really understand it, you have to look at the people who aren't on screen. Marx talked about something called the industrial reserve. Army, a huge mass of people stuck on the edges, struggling, waiting, hoping for a chance. He wrote that this group grows and shrinks with the system, but it's always there, always applying pressure, always shaping the conditions for everyone else. Now look at a MrBeast challenge. You might see 100, no, 1,000, maybe even 10,000 people competing. But for every single person in that video, there are millions more watching from the sidelines. And you can see them clearly in the comments. Jimmy, please help me pay my mom's medical bills. Please, I'm about to lose my house. That right there. That's the reserve army of this entire economy. It's the massive pool of desperate voices that makes every contestant replaceable. And that's the uncomfortable truth. The system doesn't just allow that desperation, it quietly depends on it to keep everything running. Because think about it. If everyone was stable, if people had housing, healthcare, security, what would the stakes even be? What would make these challenges feel intense, emotional, or urgent? The spectacle only works because there's something real on the line. And that tension comes from a much bigger reality sitting just outside the frame. And here's where it gets even more complicated. This isn't about calling someone a bad person. By most accounts, Jimmy is a genuinely kind individual, but Marx's whole point was never about personalities. It was about systems. It's about what the structure rewards, what it pushes, what it turns into content. So what you're really watching isn't just someone helping people. You're watching a system exposing itself in real time. A system where generosity, struggle, and attention all get pulled into the same loop. And maybe the wildest part, we can't look away. We keep watching, clicking, sharing. Our attention becomes the fuel that keeps the whole thing alive, feeding it more energy every single day. If you made it this far, drop a comment and tell me what you think. Do you see it the same way or nah? And if this got you thinking, hit like and subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot and helps me keep breaking down ideas like this.